Have you ever stood in front of Angkor Wat, absolutely stunned by its beauty, and wondered how could a civilization capable of creating this just vanish? For centuries, the Khmer Empire was a titan of Southeast Asia, a powerhouse of art, culture, and incredible engineering. Its capital, Angkor, was the largest pre-industrial city in the world, home to over 1 million people when London was just a small town. But by the 15th century, this magnificent city was largely abandoned, swallowed by the jungle. What happened? The answer, surprisingly, has a lot to do with water. Let's journey back to the 9th century. The Khmer kings were masters of their environment. They didn't just build temples, they built an empire on water. Picture this: a massive, intricate network of canals, reservoirs called barays, and moats. This wasn't just for decoration. This was the lifeblood of the empire. This sophisticated water management system, one of the most complex in the ancient world, served 3 crucial purposes. First, it controlled the powerful monsoon rains, preventing catastrophic floods during the wet season and storing water for the dry season. This created stability in a region known for its extreme climate. Second, this stored water allowed for multiple rice harvests per year. Not just 1 or 2, but sometimes 3 or even 4. This agricultural surplus was the engine of the Khmer economy. It fed the massive population, supported the armies, and funded the construction of those breathtaking temples we see today. Think about it. Every stone lifted to build Angkor Wat was paid for by rice, and that rice grew because of their mastery of water. Third, the water network was it connected the capital to the rest of the empire, facilitating trade, communication, and the movement of troops and materials. It was the internet of its day, a logistical marvel that held the vast kingdom together. For over 500 years, this system worked brilliantly. The Khmer kings were seen as divine rulers, not just because of their military might, but because they could tame the waters and bring prosperity to the land. This was their source of power, their legitimacy. So, if their system was so perfect, what went wrong? The downfall of the Khmer Empire wasn't a single event, but a perfect storm of factors. And at the heart of it was climate change. Starting in the mid-14th century, the climate of Southeast Asia began to fluctuate wildly. Imagine going from one extreme to another. Decades of mega-droughts would bake the earth, drying up the canals and reservoirs that the empire so desperately depended on. The massive barays, which once held millions of cubic meters of water, began to run low. Rice paddies withered, and the agricultural surplus that fueled the empire vanished. Famine would have been a constant threat. Then, just as people were struggling with drought, the weather would swing violently in the other direction. Intense, mega-monsoons would hammer the region, unleashing floods far more powerful than anything the system was designed to handle. The sophisticated network of canals and dikes, once a symbol of control, would be overwhelmed and damaged. Sediment and debris would clog the channels, breaking the delicate system. It's like trying to run a high-precision machine while someone is randomly pouring sand and then water into the gears. The system was built for stability, not for these wild, unpredictable swings. This climate chaos created a domino effect. The failing water system led to crop failures and food shortages. The once mighty kings, whose power was tied to their ability to provide for their people, began to lose their divine authority. How could they be god kings if they couldn't even control the rain and rivers? This would have led to social unrest and a crisis of faith. People started to lose confidence in the centralized power of Angkor. At the same time, the Khmer Empire was facing external threats. To the west, the rising Siamese kingdom of Otaya was growing more powerful and aggressive. They launched repeated invasions into Khmer territory, sacking the capital of Angkor in 1431. These wars were devastating. They drained the empire's resources, killed its people, and further destabilized the region. Imagine trying to repair a complex irrigation system while fending off an invading army. It was an impossible task. The constant warfare made it difficult, if not impossible, to maintain and repair the failing water infrastructure. The combination of environmental collapse and military pressure was fatal. the Khmer elite began to abandon the great city of Angkor. It was no longer a reliable center of power or prosperity. They moved their capital south, closer to the coast, to places like modern-day Phnom Penh. This shift made strategic sense. The new locations were better for maritime trade, which was becoming increasingly important in the region. They were also less dependent on the massive, failing irrigation system of the north. It was a pragmatic choice, a move away from the collapsing inland empire towards a new, more resilient model based on trade. And so, Angkor, the magnificent city of 1 million people, was left to the jungle. The temples remained, but the intricate network of canals and reservoirs that had sustained it fell into disrepair and disappeared beneath the vegetation. It wasn't that the Khmer people vanished. They adapted and moved, their culture evolving and continuing in new centers of power. But the great, centralized, water-based empire of Angkor was gone forever. The story of the Khmer Empire is a powerful lesson from history. It shows us how even the most sophisticated and powerful civilizations can be vulnerable to environmental change. Their incredible water engineering was their greatest strength, but it also became their Achilles heel when the climate turned against them. They built a system for a stable world, and when that world became unstable, their empire crumbled. As we stand today, facing our own challenges with climate change, the silent stones of Angkor have a story to tell. They remind us of the delicate balance between human civilization and the natural world, and the importance of resilience and adaptability in the face of an unpredictable future. The fall of Angkor wasn't just the end of an empire. It's a timeless warning, etched in stone and carried on the wind through the jungles of Cambodia. Thanks for watching. If you found this journey into the past as fascinating as I did, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more stories from history. See you next time.